YanaTV. Today, our guest is Amy Takemura. Amy is Japanese, she is a mom of 2 kids, and one of the pioneers in tech startup businesses in Asia. Welcome to YanaTV and thank you for tuning in. Today our guest is Amy Takemura, an amazing woman who is a successful entrepreneur in tech business and a mom of 2 kids. So how amazing is that?
Thanks very much. I enjoy being both, so I cannot.
How do you balance that, Amy?
A lot of people ask me the questions, but it's you just have to be better at prioritizing. Because you infinitely has multiple things going on, even if you're just running business and with kids, and you just become more strict on yourself, try to prioritize when you have both. And I feel that in life there are many things that we can be doing, but they're not essential or important to a longer term objective. So I try to be a little bit more longer-term focused.
So you have very strict discipline every day.
Yes, it became natural to me. I wasn't very good at prioritizing probably my younger days because I had all the time in the whole wide world, like, 24 hours a day. I could work, 15 hours a day trying to worry about everything I had on my plate. But now I try to be very disciplined about from here to here, I attend to the kids, but from here to here, I work on Singapore or, US. So when you have finite resources, you are infinitely more efficient. So I may not be doing everything I should be doing, but I think I get 80–90% of it right. So that's all right. Yeah.
That's amazing. and how is it running your own business while having the family? So how do you manage
So I'm very
business?
fortunate that I actually started a company with 3 other colleagues from Amazon. So 4 of us worked together for a number of years. Prior to starting this company. So we know each other's strengths, and they are all males, but they know my situation. So
you're the only woman among 4?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But we kind of, feeling each other's strengths and weaknesses. And so I felt very fortunate that I have that team to depend on.
Okay. How did it all started? Like, was it like one day you wake up and, you're from Japan, right? It's where you grew up.
Yep.
And it's where you went to school and received your initial education.
Right.
So how did you become interested in technology and online businesses?
Yeah, since little kid, I was always fascinated with new things. I was always type of kid, like I walk on the street and I always fall down because I was always looking around. Like I was always curious about things that are around. Yes. So I always had injuries, and like I was kind of one of those really strange kids. But as a result of that, I became quite aware of not just my own surroundings, but outside, and I took more interest in international affairs and things like that. So when I started, when I was 5, it was a neighborhood. Then it became, greater city, Tokyo, and then international themes. So I think I was always looking for, something new and something exciting. And then I ran into this whole internet revolution. I was really lucky in '92 when I first started my job. A consulting firm, we had a first email account.
Wow.
And it was literally one email account for the whole office, and we kind of watched how the mail gets sent from here to the headquarters in Boston. And we were like, wow.
That was like high technology those days.
And then I just started getting really involved, reading books, learning about FTP, all these early days of internet, like checking out the new browser. So it just become my personal obsession, and fortunately, with the consulting background I was able to involve with many telcos or many other tech clients whose projects mandated me to know more. So I was very lucky that I was able to grow my knowledge and skill sets quite fast pace doing my client projects. Mm-hmm. And then after several years in consulting, I decided it's my time for for jump ship and be on the actual running side of the business. So that's how I shifted to the internet industry in 99.
99.
Yes.
And right now, so but at the beginning you said when you get your first job, right, you were working for the company. So, but then with the current company, with the Pitrex, you're one of the co-founders.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
So how did you decide to become an entrepreneur? Because there's a big difference when you move from working for somebody else to actually doing your own business.
Yes, that's always a question I receive, and I always had inside me that I didn't want to work for a company for the rest of my life, because I come from a medical family. My parents run a hospital, so it's like a running business, right, for patients. And it was just always awkward for me to be working for a large corporation and be kind of employed for the rest of my life. So I was, from the get-go, I knew it was a finite time for me to get trained. But at some point in the future, I wanted to kind of have my own project, whether it's in the form of starting up a company or running an organization for a nonprofit. Whatever it was, I had back of my head, at some point in the future, I wanted to do something on my own. So when the right opportunity came up, when my colleagues at Amazon had the similar feeling, we just started talking about, okay, what can we do to make a difference in the society with our skill sets? So naturally, we had an e-commerce background, internet background, and quite a deep knowledge of how American companies run business. So we try to combine all the things we knew and try to come up with our own products.
And you just mentioned a very interesting phrase. You said that you were thinking, how can you, with your colleagues at the time, make a difference in the society? Do you think it's crucial for people who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs and people who are aspiring actually to start their own business to think like that? So to think always in terms of value and how can you make difference for other people, for business to be successful?
I think there are many ways you can be motivated to start business, but there's another set of questions of how can you attract talent and grow your team, right? So if you're working by yourself, I think you can have a number of different objectives. Whatever motivate you, I think is okay. But for us, it was mandatory to build a team and to attract talent as a startup. We are not Sony, we're not General Motors or AT&T. How can someone talented be interested in us? I think there has to be some social value, and we meant in a sincere way. We didn't want to just create social value just because we wanted to attract talent, but this is something we learned along the way. We've been running this for about 5 years now. That a lot of the reasons, probably number one reason why people want to join us is because our business does have a social mission.
That's a great point, actually, because I know, right, also in business, there is a very famous African proverb, if you want to go far, you go alone. No, if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go together.
That's great, right? Exactly
so
right.
That's one of my favorite, actually, proverbs. But this is what you're saying, that you started the business with colleagues, so it's already a team of 4 of you, and now you also want to attract more people. And what you're saying is, in the modern world of business, especially I think when you work in tech industry, because it is very young generation focused in many ways,
right?
And just young generation is really very much into philanthropy and into helping other people and kind of leaving some kind of social positive imprint on the society.
Right.
So what would be your then social statement? So when you tell them, come work for us, right? So what do you tell them?
So the whole reason why we started our company, we actually had different products at the beginning before we start PTEX, but our whole mission was to empower creative types, whether they're artists or authors. We had a digital content publishing platform originally. So with the event, also, event is a perfect enabler of propagating your missions, or trying to create a fan base, right? Like why artists do all these gigs and lives? I mean, to grow your fan base, right? At the real live event experiences, you can't really evoke emotions and get people to rally up on you. And It's same for everything else, right? Like whether it's hackathon or whether it's meetups, right? People run events so that they can share experiences together, and hopefully some of them become your supporters or fans or clients. And we felt that that's the perfect platform for the new generation of creative types. Whether people running nonprofit or social projects, or want to be indie musician, want to be mega artist, whatever that might be. It's a great platform for people to take advantage, and we wanted to make that really easy and convenient.
And available to everybody.
Right, and available, yes, because existing solutions have been very expensive, and I didn't mention it earlier, but for example, our platform is probably 30 to 40% cheaper than some other competing products.
Okay.
And the reason why we have such aggressive pricing is because we really want people to take advantage of what we have built. And we will try to kind of figure out business models around it. We have a whole ecosystem that we sort of planned out. But the last thing we want to do is, us versus them type of approach of, okay, because that's what happens to a lot of the vendors, isn't it? Like, it's like a zero sum. We make money, and you pay us the fee, right? And and we didn't want to be that. We want to create a tool where everybody can use.
So it's like win-win.
Without hurting their budget, and the incremental business we bring for them would be more than the cost that they'll pay to us. That's kind of the model we strive for, which is win-win model, isn't it? So
okay. And then, and then for the Pitrex, for the when you launched it, because again, but I also know that many people who actually would like to start their own business, they sit and sit and sit and sit on the idea.
Yes.
Before they actually,
I know.
It's like
we've been there.
It is a never-ending process to crystallize what exactly you want to do and how exactly your product want to look like, and who exactly your ideal client is, and what exactly their pain is that you can address. So you can go for years to crystallizing that. But then at some point, so how did you decide when it is a good time to actually take a massive action and roll it out to the world? Because what is the perfect time frame for that?
There's no perfect time frame, and the world is so flat now. It's that sort of like the fear that you're talking about is even more real, because you can't access the information. Say, oh, here's another online event platform. Oh, here's another whatever platform, right? So you always feel like, oh, is my product perfect enough? But I think what is most important is you start with a minimum. The kind of lingo is minimum viable product, MVP, in the lean startup world. But the minimum set of products with a maximum benefit is what you have to go for. And you just kind of introduce it and see what happens. Because with a real product, people will give you a real opinion. With a storyboard, people only give you good things. People only tell you because they don't want to hurt you, right? Like, so in most circumstances, I used to run many research studies for Disney, and we had all these like storyboards and all these plans for this web products or mobile products, and we try to get feedback from the customers. And most cases, people only say good things.
Well, of course, when everything is theoretical, they often
right, because they don't really know how things move, and especially with the web, because it's such an interactive experience, you don't really have a sense of the customer experience when you have just the prototype, right? So I think a lot of people talk about prototype, but I think the best is to create something it moves, and get people to use it, and get people to tell you whether it sucks or it's great. And actually, someone told me that if it's in the middle, you're kind of screwed. You want to hear either it's really horrible, and so you got to do A to ABC to fix it, or it's wonderful and I want to pay for it,
So why in the middle you screwed? Why is that?
Because when it's middle, you don't really know what's the right action to take. Because it seems nice, but then you are not really getting the clients.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
actually very valuable
It's like a dead zone.
advice. So then, so for the product, you want. It's a bit like with the theater in some way. You want the audience to have a very strong reaction,
Yes,
right? So
it's the
they
same.
either
It's
love
same.
it or they hate it,
Right.
but at least you touch something in
Right,
them.
right,
So if
exactly.
it's neutral, then
Yes.
it's very difficult to grow and evolve.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's exactly the same for the web products.
So
or
then the
mobile.
process would be, so you come up with the idea, you develop what you said, the minimum set of probably preferences, and for this, to the maximum advantage of people, you launch it,
Right.
and you hope they're either going to love it or they're going to hate it, and they're going to give you valuable feedback.
Right,
And then you just grow organically from there. This is how you would be doing it?
Right. So this is actually the fourth product we launched. So we knew the third products, I wouldn't say, I don't want to call flop because maybe my colleagues will be listening, but the first three products didn't work quite as well. Quite as well as the PTEX product. So we knew when we launched PTEX, it's a completely different level of engagement that we were able to capture from potential customers. So that's how we knew, okay, this is a product we need to invest in, not the other three so much.
Okay. How do you get there? Usually then you go through a lot of setbacks and difficulties, a lot of failures. So you try to do something that it did not work. So from your experience with your company right now, maybe if you could name us let's say 3 major failures that you have done. And how did you actually dealt with them business-wise?
Okay, sure. So the first one is a very interesting paradox that many tech startups have. Maybe not so much in other areas, but the tech startups, because we tend to be kind of geeks and we try to come up with this new novel product, and we kind of we think inherently that if you build, people come. As opposed to, when you build the product, you have to market it, right? And I'm a marketer, so I knew the importance of marketing. But when you're starting with a little budget, you don't have as much advertising money like I used to have working for other corporations. So you have to figure out how to market your product without spending a lot of money, right? And at the beginning, we thought okay, we build, we get searched by the search engines, and we'll see what happens, and nothing happens, right? And we try to figure out, okay.
That was disappointment.
Yeah. So we try to figure out, okay, let's try to figure out potential customers, try to do email blasts kind of things and see what happens. And of course, nobody responds to your email, right? We're a no-name company with unproven product. We are not Mariah Carey, or we're not we're not celebrity, right? Why would people pay attention to us? There's no reason.
Okay, so search engine did not work. Email, kind of mass emails did not work.
Right. So I think for some products, the search engines might work. I'm not denying the effectiveness completely, but when you're starting brand new, if you're hundreds on the list, or you're less than top 50 of the search result, your chance of getting found is just very small, right? So what we ended up doing is actually we rolled up our sleeves, and we decided to build a community and started sharing our knowledge a lot more to build our credibility. So it took us longer time, but we were running, for example, workshops for potential event organizers. It was like a 20-hour workshop. Or we were running community events. We would write a ton of blog posts. All these kind of seeding contents or reach out effort. It took us longer time, but after 6 months or so, we really started seeing a result of our engagement efforts. So we tend to think, we want to see immediate result after a few weeks, but especially for our B2B2C type of product, I think building trust takes a little bit of time, especially in Japan, where people tend to go for more established brands. For us to matter, it took a little bit of time. but I think it was all worthwhile because after 4 years, I think we were probably the #1 platform for this genre in Japan. So we sort of proved that we could build that brand, but you had to kind of take a longer term perspective. So that's the first painful lesson we learned.
But it was one failure.
Yeah, sorry, that was a long story.
Success, right? So is there anything else?
Yeah, so the second one is, I don't know if I call it exactly a failure, but we started going international year 3, so 2 years ago.
The first 3 years it was only in
First
Japan.
2 years was only in Japan. And then after Series A funding, we decided with that investment, we decided to go overseas. So I moved to Singapore, and then our CEO moved to New York. So we had this like a tripod situation of the main team is Tokyo, our CEO and the small team in New York, and I was in Singapore. And we sort of overestimated that fact that we all knew each other. And but the matter of fact is when you have a distance and time difference, the communication could get tough, and things could fall through cracks. And so now we have a tool called Slack that we use for global communications within the team. Okay. It could create a bunch of different channels, and everyone can talk asynchronously, so without worrying about the time difference so much. So now our communication is much better. But for a while, some information get lost because A and B have a conversation in Tokyo, but C is not there because she's in Singapore or New York or whatever. And we assume it's a shared knowledge, but it's not. Like that kind of things could happen.
And it's also very common, I think, in the modern world, because in business it became so much global.
Right.
Right. So I mean, you don't really do business anymore in one country. Also with the internet and social media and everything is just so interconnected.
Right.
So when you have a brand, it is always a global brand.
Right.
So and then also, especially if you start growing and your team starts moving to different parts of the world, I think that everybody can relate to having this issue with communication and time zones.
Yes.
So what would be the advice maybe for people who are just like those companies who are about to go global right now? And they wanna, so what is the best way for them to communicate so they can avoid all those issues?
Right. So if you have lots of money, the way to structure is to kind of have a more, as somebody who would handle the localization and be the hub for communicating with the teams in different countries and things like that. But in our case, we are still a lean company. We wear many hats. Like I wear hat of global marketing as well as Asia business development. So in our case, or case like smaller cases. Lean situations, I think the two important thing is one is you have to have one tool where you will pool the knowledge and communication. So even if you have like a chat, personal conversation, if it's something that needs to be shared in the team, you purposely write in this channel. So nobody feels left behind, right? I think the most dangerous thing is to make some people feel, oh, I'm left behind because I'm sitting, this country versus that country, right?
Yes, and then the human factor kicks in, and then they think that they less appreciate it.
Right.
Or maybe their decision is not as important.
Exactly.
And I know, Amy, that you personally, you are very passionate about increasing number of women in business, particularly in tech business.
Yes.
Right? So why is that?
Because I think it's such a great industry for women, and your odds of success is always higher if you try to jump into a field where there's lesser participants, right? And I think right now there is so few women in tech, and I think market as a whole, whether it's investor or stakeholders or customer, I think they would like to see more women pitching the ideas, being part of creating great product. But we just simply don't have enough players, So I think the work can benefit so much more by women participating, and also it could be a great lifestyle for women as well. Like I have 2 kids, and because I can't work remotely quite easily, I can go in and out between schools and work. And I can work at night, I can take off a little early, work at night. I have that flexibility. But if you work for a big corporation, when I used to work for an entertainment company, I was in the office from 9 to 7, and I was not given chance to leave the office that easily.
You can't do this.
Yeah, I just had meetings after meetings after meetings after meetings, and when you work for big corporations, that's what happens. You have to coordinate with so many different people across everything, and especially when you're higher up in the organization. So I just feel like I can manage work-life balance so much better.
That's amazing. I guess for those women who figure out, or looking for the way to find work-life balance, here you go. So you get into tech business,
right?
And you said also less competition among women, right? And the investors and other, stakeholders, they want to see more women.
Yeah.
So let's say there are women out there who are thinking about maybe starting something in the tech industry, or maybe partnering together with other men and starting somebody. So is there any particular message you would tell them why they should be doing it like right now?
I mean, right now it's inherently cheaper and scalable to start tech business. I mean, when I started in the 90s, it cost so much money to buy server, rights, everything to start tech industry, so you had to raise millions of dollars. But now you can probably start with less than $100 or maybe a couple $100 at maximum. Everything is on cloud. So if you have a great idea and a great plan and a great team, you can have a shot at it. And there's a lot of money floating around for seed stage companies.
For those who's wondering, there's not enough money, okay? So there is a lot of money around.
Especially Southeast Asia now, there is a lot of venture capital looking for new opportunities. So I would think it's the best time to get involved.
For women to jump into the tech industry.
Yes.
So what would be maybe the, first step they could take towards that? What would you say? Like if they have the idea, what is the first easy step you could do about it?
I think the most important thing is to find a partner. It's always more you're always more successful with a co-founder approach than a single founder approach. I mean, there's a data published around it as well. So,
well, you also leverage on
figure out what is
figure
out what your strengths, whether in tech or design or business model or whatever that you think you can contribute and what you're missing, right? And just try to find partners who want to do with you with a complementary skill set.
And that was Amy Takemura sharing her tips and real-life stories about tech startup businesses in Asia. Do you love this video? Share it with your friends. And of course, subscribe to our channel, where we share inspirational and educational interviews with Asian role models who are making a difference. And until next time, take a good care of yourself, go for your dreams, and live fearlessly.
The heart of networking is building great relationships with people that want to help you and that you want to help.
Because the worst thing any small business can do is just blanket market people. Work on your network, because by talking to people, interacting, that's where ideas start growing.
Don't try and do everything yourself. If it comes to a point where you need somebody's real professional advice or professional services, you should invest in them.
I believe in radiance and being alive, unaware and awakened.
As long as I'm doing something that connects people and has something to do with the empowering of people, that through knowledge, as long as I know I'm impacting people's lives positively, I'm happy.